A new paper has just been announced by geneticist David Reich and dozens of other authors. It will be formally presented to an upcoming conference in Hungary. Josef Lazaridis of Harvard Medical School is best known for his work with Central and Eastern Eurasian genomes. He is the lead author of the paper. Tom Roussel is known to European history buffs here on YouTube as Survive the Jive. Moments after the new paper was announced, he tweeted out, Sredny Stog theory vindicated as the ancestors of Yamnaya. Reich walks back the south of the Caucasus stuff. European alt history buffs such as Aopedia advisor Nerken19 and Lady Beaker were celebrating all over X. The Beaker Lady, April 18th. I am strongly Team A West based on what I have seen in archaeological research. These two newly released preprints are very exciting. Nerken 19 to Right-Anthro. The biggest takeaway is it changed its position to more north for obvious reasons. Sredny Stog. Note, traditionalists pronounce it Sredny still, but many now use the simplified pronunciation Sredny Stog. From Science Direct, June 2010, Human Adaptation in the Northern Pontiac Steppe. The transition to early Neolithic was connected with a collapse of the Neolithic cultures. The new Sredny Stog culture was involved in animal husbandry and agriculture. Continuing, the beginning of the early Iron Age in the Pontiac Steppe, its economy is characterized as nomadic cattle herding with winter camps along the Black Sea coast. The new paper by Reich et al., The Genetic Origin and Linguistic Expansion of the Indo-Europeans. Abstract. The Yamnaya archaeological complex appeared around 3300 BCE across the steppes north of the Black and Caspian Seas, and by 3000 BCE reached its maximal extent from Hungary in the west to Kazakhstan in the east. Note, CLV is the abbreviation for Caucasus Lower Volga. Continuing, CLV people with Lower Volga ancestry moved west and acquired Neolithic hunter-gatherer ancestry to establish the population of the Sredny Stog culture, from which the direct ancestors of the Yamnaya themselves were formed around 4000 BCE. Conclusion. We thus propose that the final unity of the speakers of the Proto-Indo-Anatolian ancestral language of Indo-European languages can be traced to CLV Klein people sometime between 4400 to 4000 BCE. According to Reich et al., the new basal geographic spot for Indo-European cultures is north of the Caucasus. Reich et al. Do attribute a small percentage of the Indo-European to Anatolian populations, whereas before it was virtually all south of the Caucasus. Aopedia. Tribes belonging mainly to the paternal haplogroup R1a reportedly occupied the north of the steppe. Also C4a, H1b, various K, U, and several I subclades. As Roswell et al. Point out, this largely refutes the so-called Southern Arc theory of darker-skinned Persians ancestral to later Indo-European populations. Viking phenotype? The Yamnaya were likely not pale-skinned, blonde-haired giants similar to later Scandinavians. But there is evidence that about 25% of the Yamnaya Klein had lighter hair color and blue eyes. Geneticist Razib Khan, on a recent Antiquities episode on YouTube, confirmed ancestors of the Yamnaya were lighter skinned. Quote, Sintashta culture, they invented the light board chariot. I pulled their DNA. You would probably call them white, but mostly dark hair, and only 25% of them had blue eyes. End quote. Note, Sintashta culture is named after a Yamnaya burial site in central Russia. Khan cautioned they weren't as quote-unquote pale-skinned as portrayed in ancient lore. Quote, there are a lot of people of a certain ideological persuasion who want to say the ancestors of Indo-Europeans were Nordic-looking people, end quote. From The Conversation, 2015, ancient DNA reveals how Europeans developed light skin and lactose tolerance. Article, one people that was particularly important in the spread of both early Bronze Age technologies and genetics were the Yamnaya. Continuing, with technologies including the horse and the wheel, they exploded out of the Russian and Ukrainian steppe into Europe, where they met the local Neolithic farmers. Continuing, the cultures with this mutation for lactose tolerance were the Yamnaya and their descendants. These results suggest that the mutation may have originated on the steppe and entered Europe with the Yamnaya. As Reich's colleague Johannes Krauss often points out in lectures, modern Europeans are admixed with 50% Russia steppe beaker, 40% Anatolian farmer, and 10% hunter-gatherer. This video serves as an introduction to the Yamnaya. We will be covering the Russia steppe beaker population as well as hunter-gatherers much more in the future. More to come. And as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and pass this video on to others. We'll see you soon.